really clear. For now, that doesn't matter. It's like some of the other things we discussed. Go ahead.
No, it does matter from this standpoint. If you own a macro asset like gold or Bitcoin or some of these things that don't have day-to-day fundamentals. I mean, you can't say, well, I'm going to go see what the get some idea of what sell-through is. I mean, you can't get an edge on the price very easily by looking at the macro variables on a day-to-day basis. So you own this, and you have to figure out, how do you manage your risk? Well, position size is obviously one.
Sure.
So how do you have a position size of enough of a consequence to make a difference if there is the risk at some point that the Chinese are going to say, we're not really very keen about this. And if that's what they decide, they will get their own way given the fact that so much of it is held there and mined there. And so how does one, if you think that is a risk in the back of your mind, which seems to me to be a legitimate risk, then how do you know on the day that it's down $500 or $1,000 or $1,500 that it isn't the start of that problem displaying itself? So that's the concern that I have is I know I can't manage the risk. And when I know those problems are out there, I don't know how I'm going to, do it. If I sell it the first time it's down 500, I'd be doing that 3 times a day. Right. So it just, that's the thing that gets in my way is some of the risks that are very tangible, it seems, and large. I don't see much consideration. And the other thing I wonder about is, and maybe I should know this, but if we're going to be at the end of the Bitcoin or creation, or however you want to say it, spawning, sometime this year, then who's going to maintain the network? Because the miners that maintain the network get some VIG for that. Who's going to do that?
Yeah, I wish I had a good answer for that. Just to tease out a couple of your comments, Bill, I think most Bitcoin aficionados either know or anticipate that the Communist Party of China might not be the biggest fans of Bitcoin either now or ever. I think, therefore, what people might be worried about at some point is that Western democracies or Western Treasury departments or finance market departments say, hey, this Bitcoin thing, we need to knock it on the head a bit and regulate it. Now, on the one hand, if we said, oh, they're going to regulate Bitcoin or we need more transparency on wallets or whatever they do, you think to yourself, oh, gee, that's a bit of a negative. But there's a flip side to it as well. There's an alternative.
Yeah.
If you actually do the right thing and say that, do KYC on Bitcoin holders and everything else, maybe that serves to institutionalize the asset. I don't know.
Sure.
But to be clear, I think, we're not there yet perhaps, but to be clear, China's attitudes to Bitcoin, I think are lesser concern longer term than some other democracies, but we shall see. But there's another angle to this which is fascinating, and it's Zuckerberg. It's Mark Zuckerberg. Now, I'm never quite sure what to make of him. And typically when they rolled out Libra, which was ironic in the extreme, given the name, he didn't give much thought to the political consequences. It was an opportunity for a Facebook stablecoin to provide a kind of digital passport for the world. I mean, it was fiendishly clever, but no, we're going to move fast and break things. No, you're not. And he ran into a brick wall with global regulators and financial policymakers. But whatever, again, one thinks of Zuckerberg, he's a very smart kid. He's very smart. And he said, hold on a second, what else is happening out in the world? Oh, wait a minute. We might be the only company with a platform that can outrun Alipay and WeChat Pay. And therefore, we might be the only company in the West that can provide the infrastructure rapidly to sort of be the offset to China's digital currency electronic payment project. Oh, so this is interesting to me. And you would have noted in a lot of his testimony in the latter part of this year how Zuckerberg has become this China hawk, right? It's very deliberate. And I say this only partly in jest. It would seem to me that Zuckerberg's first step to coming out as a US patriot is to first hate China, right? Because patriotism and Zuckerberg up until now, I've struggled to reconcile those two for obvious reasons. But he thinks that he can help create the Western equivalent or the dollar-backed equivalent or something like that of China's dual currency electronic payments project, right? And I'm watching that as well. Now, I don't know what that means for Facebook's valuation. I don't know what that means for Facebook's earnings. But it is true that if the United States in particular wishes to rapidly catch up with what's happening with China's dual currency, oh my gosh, that's such an old thing to say. Sorry, time out. That reveals how old I am, because I remember 25 years ago we used to talk about dual currency, foreign currency, dual currency bonds in Japan.
Yeah, listen, we've all dated ourselves because Bill and I didn't flinch.
Oh. Power reverse dual currency bonds. Oh, gosh. Anyway, so what I meant, young listener, was digital currency electronic payments in China. But it's a serious point. It seems to me that Zuckerberg has figured out that the only way the West can catch up is by using his technology. And he might be right. He might be right. But really what we're sketching out here is a profound change, or to begin with, a really intense competition between around who runs the financial system of the future. Are we going to have a dollar-backed financial system as we knew it, or are we going to have a digital renminbi-backed financial system with, quite frankly, all of the horrible problems that will entail? That's what this is about. So to be clear, very tricky to trade. I mean, really tricky to trade. Yeah. But we all have to be aware of what's happening as market participants. We need to keep an eye on it. I, for one, have set up all these alerts on DCEP on my Bloomberg, so I get all these headlines, and I'm getting 25 a day. I mean, you know, they've now got the trial running in Shanghai for DCEP. Now they're rushing it out in other parts of China. You know, they're going for it, right? They're going for it because, frankly, up until very recently, Washington has been asleep at the switch. But it's extraordinary to watch no surprise about Xi Jinping's breathtaking ambition on so many fronts. Yeah. But this one, for us, for those of us working in financial markets and think about asset allocation and everything else, I mean, I don't know about you fellas, but I don't particularly fancy opening a digital renminbi wallet in mainland China, given the data I would have to hand over. Yeah. And that's just for starters, right? Yeah. Assuming, of course, that was the only way I could do any transactions in mainland China. To be clear, I don't, but, you know, these are, to me, is a really important, difficult, complicated topic. But it's the biggest plumbing question I've been confronted with in my career.
Wow, that's some statement coming from you, I have to say. I just love the fact that we've sat here and chatted for 2 hours, and your mic drop moment is to send everybody down a rabbit hole that could consume them now for months to come.
Well, yeah, so we'll have to come back and revisit DCEP down the road and see where it is.
It's going to be a real barbecue stopper, Bill. I mean, you tried at a few dinner parties over the New Year in Seattle. I'm sure people will be riveted.
I'm sure, no doubt.
But Grant, if I may, I wanted to read you something that I think encapsulates so much that's happening in the world right now, and dare I say, I think it's how the three of us and many of our friends think about stuff. And it's from an overlooked macro strategist of decades gone by. So just bear with me. I want to read this quote. "I think that I am superior to the common run of men in noticing things which easily escape attention and in observing them carefully. My industry has been nearly as great as it could have been in the observation and collection of facts. What is far more important, my love of natural science has been steady and ardent. From my early youth, I have had the strongest desire to understand or explain whatever I observed, that is, to group all facts under some general laws." Almost finished. "These causes combined have given me the patience to reflect or ponder for any number of years over any unexplained problem. As far as I can judge, I am not apt to follow blindly the lead of other men. I have steadily endeavoured to keep my mind free so as to give up any hypothesis, however much beloved, as soon as facts are shown to be opposed to it." And I thought those words were appropriate at a time when we have an awful lot of people big dicking it and who are absolutely dogmatic in their opinions on all sorts of financial assets, as opposed to the perhaps safer route of pragmatism.
Yeah.
You know, and I once met this fella in Seattle, and he had this motto, "Often wrong, never in doubt." I got another story there, but those words I read out were from a very famous macro strategist called Charles Darwin. And that's from Charles Darwin's autobiography. And I was rereading it the other day, you know, as you do, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that is such a great way of thinking about investing, asset allocation. And look, you know, I think one of the common threads of some of the most wonderful investors I'm so fortunate to work with and for is that they can be pounding the table dogmatic about something tonight and then they're out of it tomorrow morning. Now, how on earth do you do that? I mean, it's just, people take it for granted. It is a very great skill.
Yeah.
And, you know, exhibit A of that in decades gone by would have been Mr. Soros. You know, famously, his back hurts. Right, I'm getting out of this, you know.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a great way of thinking about what's happening right now and to try and be balanced and sensible and to just figure out ways to survive and thrive no matter what Mr. Market throws at you, no matter what a central bank's doing. Because let's face it, if we're able to stay in the game long enough, there'll always be something to do.